Asking what the meaning of life is often considered a question without definitive answers. Yet, Lev Tolstoy, with the depth of his mind, left countless lessons that invite reflection and self-exploration, helping to uncover the meaning of one's existence. In this video, we explore 7 of his best reflections that promise to open doors to a deeper understanding of life. But before we begin, it is important to understand who Leo Tolstoy was, a man who lived a life full of contrasts, leaving an indelible mark not only on literature, but also on philosophical and spiritual thought. Born on September 9th, 1828, on a noble estate in Yasnaya Polyana, Russia, he spent his childhood surrounded by privilege, but marked by the early loss of his parents. He was only 2 years old when his mother died of puerperal fever, and 9 years old when his father died suddenly, probably from a stroke. These circumstances nurtured in him a deep sensitivity and an unstoppable desire to understand the meaning of existence, themes that would later characterize almost all of his works. He received his initial education at home, as was common for the children of aristocratic families, with private tutors who taught him languages, literature, and history. Already as a child, he showed a marked intellectual curiosity, but also a rebellious nature. After this home education, he moved to Kazan. There, he began his university studies, where he initially enrolled in Oriental languages and then switched to law. However, disappointed by the academic approach and not inclined to follow imposed rules, he abandoned the university without completing the course. As a self-taught man, he continued his education through incessant reading and acute observation of the reality that surrounded him. As a young man, he led a carefree life, dedicating himself to travel, gambling, and an aristocratic existence. During his military service, which lasted about 5 years, he began to write and began publishing his first stories. It was during this period that Childhood was Born, published in 1852, which was the first of an autobiographical trilogy, and also laid the foundation for The Cossacks, which was published only in 1863, inspired by his experiences in the Caucasus. These writings already revealed his extraordinary talent for observing and describing the complexity of the human soul and the life of ordinary people. In 1862, he married Sofia Andreevna Bears, a girl 17 years his junior. Sofia was a central figure in his life. Not only did she give him 13 children, only 8 of whom survived childhood, but she also contributed to his literary career, transcribing the manuscripts of his most important works. Yet the marriage was marked by deep tensions, especially in the last years, when Tolstoy's spiritual choices, which included the rejection of material goods, clashed with her practical and family concerns. Despite this, the two never formally divorced. Her real breakthrough came with War and Peace in 1869, a masterpiece that interweaves personal stories and philosophical reflections on fate and freedom during the Napoleonic era. Shortly after, in 1877, she published Anna Karenina, a novel that explores love, social hypocrisy, and internal conflict, often summed up in the famous phrase, "All happy families are alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." But behind his literary success, he was struggling with a deep existential crisis that reached its peak around the age of 50. Despite the fame and wealth he had accumulated, he began to question the meaning of life, the value of his achievements, and death. This anxiety led him to a phase of deep depression, in which he even contemplated suicide, as he recounts in his book Confession in 1882. Tolstoy described this period as a confrontation with emptiness, No material pleasure or artistic success seemed to offer him satisfactory answers. To face this crisis, he began an intense journey of spiritual research, immersing himself in the teachings of the gospel and analyzing the great religious and philosophical texts. Later, however, he distanced himself from the Orthodox Church, rejecting its hierarchical and dogmatic structures to embrace a personal spiritual vision based on universal love, simplicity, and non-violence. It was during this period of inner rebirth that he wrote seminal works such as The Death of Ivan Ilyich in 1886, a powerful meditation on the fear of death and the search for meaning, and The Kingdom of God is Within You, published in 1894, which would later influence historical figures such as Gandhi. Through his writing, he explored his torments and also offered guidance for those who, like him, were seeking answers to the deepest questions of existence. This crisis transformed his thinking and his life, leading him to a vision in which the meaning of existence lay in simplicity, love, and service to others. This extraordinary thinker has written over 50 major works such as novels, short stories, essays, and plays. Among his most important works, in addition to those mentioned, are also Resurrection, an indictment of the corruption of the judicial system, and The Power of Darkness, a drama that explores the struggle between good and evil. His life in his later years was dedicated to a relentless search for coherence between thought and action. He chose to live as a peasant, rejecting the privileges of his social position and embracing a simple life. This choice led him to clashes with his family, the church, and the Tsarist government. At the age of 82, on November 20th, 1910, Tolstoy suddenly left his home, seeking inner peace and freedom from family conflicts. During this journey, he became seriously ill and found refuge in the small railway station of Ostapovo in the Lipetsk region of Russia, where he died a few days later, surrounded by doctors, family, and admirers. His last words seem to sum up the meaning of his journey. Truth is more important than anything. His biography is a story of continuous transformation. Each phase of his life represents a piece of his search for meaning, a journey that continues to inspire millions of people around the world. But now, the time has finally come to enter the heart of his wisdom, exploring the 7 profound reflections that he has left as a legacy to all of us. If you would like to support our work, you can leave a like, subscribe to the channel, or make a donation through the super thanks that you find right under the video. Thanks for the constant support. Let's get started. The meaning of life is a constant search. This concept emerges forcefully in Confession, 1882, where Tolstoy shares his profound existential crisis. After years of literary success, wealth, and recognition, he found himself questioning the value of his own existence. Here he describes the emptiness he felt, a sense of uselessness that led him to question everything he had built. His answer? Life is not meant to be definitively understood, but only to be explored. The search, with its questions and uncertainties, is what gives meaning to existence itself. We must not fear not having all the answers. Growth and discovery happen in the process. Life is a journey in which every step, even the most uncertain, has value. The meaning of life is to love what you do. In On Life, 1887 to 1888, Tolstoy explains that work, understood as any form of creative or useful action, is a manifestation of love. When you love what you do, you don't see it just as an obligation or a burden, but as an opportunity to leave a mark, to contribute to the well-being of others, and to feel part of something bigger. This concept extends beyond professions and concerns every type of activity. When you cook, when you teach, when you work the land. What matters is the intention and the passion you put into it. In essence, loving what you do means living with awareness, finding satisfaction in being useful, and discovering that the true value lies not so much in the results, but in the way you choose to approach what you do. This approach, for Tolstoy, also becomes one of the keys to giving meaning to one's own. The meaning of life is to live fully in the present, accepting death as part of the natural cycle. In The Death of Ivan Ilyich, 1886, the thinker explores the fear of death and its impact on life, showing how we often find ourselves ignoring this reality. For him, accepting mortality means recognizing it as a natural element of existence, not an enemy to be feared, but a fact that can give meaning to every moment lived. Living in the present, on the other hand, means freeing ourselves from the chains of regret for what has been and from anxiety about what might happen. Tolstoy suggests focusing on what we can do today, here and now, finding joy in the little things. A smile, a kind gesture, a moment of silence. Thus, every day becomes a unique and unrepeatable opportunity to live fully, without waiting for the right moment to be happy, because every moment is already perfect for finding meaning and beauty in life. The meaning of existence is to believe in something greater than oneself. In his work on life, Tolstoy emphasizes how important it is to have faith, not necessarily religious, but in an ideal or principle that gives purpose and direction. Without something to believe in, life can seem meaningless. Believing in something greater than oneself gives strength in times of difficulty and pushes one to act with conviction. It is like having a lighthouse that illuminates the path even in the darkest nights, reminding us that every action can have a deeper meaning when it is guided by authentic values. The meaning of existence is to live in the simplicity of an authentic life, overcoming selfishness. Tolstoy firmly believed that a life complicated by material goods, superficial ambitions, and social conventions distances one from true happiness. This theme is recurrent in his personal letters, where he expresses the desire to embrace a simple lifestyle, far from the privileges of his aristocratic position. At the same time, works such as Confession and On Life deepen this idea, highlighting the connection between simplicity and the search for a meaningful existence. Overcoming selfishness for him does not mean canceling oneself, but freeing oneself from the illusions of individualism and opening up to others. Accepting one's vulnerabilities and finding strength in sharing allows one to build authentic relationships and live in harmony with what really matters. He believed that true happiness lies in reconnecting with essential values such as honesty, love for others, and respect for nature. An authentic life is one that resonates with one's deepest ideals, stripped of what is superfluous to make room for what is truly meaningful. The meaning of life is to connect to the whole. This idea is found in Confession and The Kingdom of God is Within You, where Tolstoy emphasizes that each individual does not live in isolation, but is part of a great universal design. This connection goes beyond the simple relationship with the people we know. It includes every living being and the entire natural world. Feeling connected to the whole means understanding that our actions, however small they may seem, have an impact that is reflected in the world around us. Every gesture, every decision contributes to this greater balance. We are invited to look beyond ourselves, to overcome the idea that we are separate from others or from nature. Recognizing that we are part of a larger network of relationships can give meaning to our existence. The meaning of life is to dedicate oneself to others. This thought is also well rooted in On Life and in his pedagogical essays, where he highlights that authentic happiness comes from taking care of others. For him, helping others is not only an act of altruism, but a way to find meaning in one's existence. Every gesture of kindness, every moment spent supporting those around us, builds a bond that enriches both parties. It is in giving ourselves to others that we discover our place in the world, and this would allow us to live a life full of meaning. That's all for this video. Goodbye. See you soon.